I'm going to show you today how to put together your final presentation of all the work that we've done for the 3D sculpture creature project. So the first thing you're going to need is you're going to go to your email that I sent you. I sent you two things in your email today. One of them is the creaturetemplate.ai file. So you'll see that in your email. You're going to want to click on that and you're going to want to download that. This is going to be sort of like a poster that we're going to use to lay out all the different pieces to our project. So I'm going to download this. Once this is open, you can see here, I just want you to see it's sort of a template, and you're going to actually type in these boxes. We have to download this to Illustrator. But I want you to see what the content is that's required. So your creature should have a name. You're going to type it up here. You're also going to add your name, the artist name right here. You're going to need a photo of your handmade clay sculpture. That is one of the other things that I shared with you today in your email. So if you go back to your email, you will see an email from me that says handmade clay sculptures. And it's actually an album of photos that I took. I took a photo of every single clay sculpture that was created. So you'll see it. You want to find your picture and download it, whatever it is. If you don't have that piece for some reason, I'll talk about what to do if you have empty boxes, okay? So you're going to need your handmade clay sculpture. You're going to need your very first sculpture. So we did the handmade sculpture, then we created the sculpture. And that was a practice one. So I want to get that into this box. And then I'm going to scroll down here. And then I want the drawing that you created of your creature design in this box. And the story of your creature, we wrote a blog on the Ning site. And so you're going to need to paste the story of your creature here. And finally, we're going to need a 3D model, like an image of your 3D model of your creature in this box, the final one that went to print. And then we're going to leave this space blank. And what's going to happen is we're actually going to attach our actual 3D print of our creature to this poster. And that's what's going to be displayed. So we need to collect a few things. So what I'm going to do now is take a step back, and I'm going to show you how to get some of this information, or how to get the sculptress images. So hold 1 second while I do that. So going back to Sculptress now, just so you can get an image of your creature, what I'm going to do is go ahead and pose this creature however I think that I need to for my final picture. I think for the purposes of showing people something that you created in Sculptress, I think it's nice to have it a little bit at like a 3/4 view. Not so much sideways or straight on, but more like at this kind of view so people can see the different components of it. Another option would be to do two renders or two images, one of the creature from the front and one from the side or the back. A lot of times you'll see that with 3D artists. So that's going to be up to you. Once I'm ready to render this out, I can choose a material. I have, as a default, I have the clay, but you can choose a different material if you want it to stand out in some other way. That's up to you. I wouldn't use anything that's shaded too darkly, like this. It's really hard to see the object, so something that where you can really see it would be really helpful. Sometimes the gray is just kind of a nice default, but at any rate, once you've chosen your material, I want you to click on Options. In Options, notice right here it says Save Image. So I'm going to click Save Image. It's going to take a minute here. So once that pops up, you're going to go ahead and decide where you want to save it. You should save it in your Documents folder. I'm going to call this my creature. It's called rendering in 3D, when you take a 3D model and you turn it into an image, like basically a JPEG. So I'm going to hit save. And see how it says rendering right there? That's what I mean. It's called rendering. It's processing all that information and making it into an image. So now it has done that. If I wanted to go forward and I could make another render, I could maybe show from the front, then I could rotate it, and then I can click Options again, and I could do another save image. So that's how you get images out of Sculptress. And then it will be in my folder if I go to my Finder. Right now I'm saving into a special folder on the desktop just for purposes of being able to find it quickly. And you'll see that the creature render is right there. So now that I can put into Illustrator. So now I'm going to show you how to add these images into Illustrator. So once I'm in Illustrator and I've done a file and then I've opened the creature template that I downloaded, see it says creaturetemplate.ai. Now you can start adding in your content here. So for instance, if I have my handmade clay sculpture photo, what I'm going to do is go up to File and I'm going to click Place. And I'm going to go navigate to my photo of my creature that I downloaded, and I'm going to click Place. This is going to be a really big image, so we're going to have to make it smaller because it's really huge. So the quickest way to make it smaller is to go up to Transform, and right up here, this is W and H, that's width and height, and you want to make sure that this little chain link is clicked so that it will stay in the same proportional layout. I'm going to try making this 6 inches. And I think that's good enough for my purposes, so now I can drag it to where I want it to go. And essentially I want to make sure it fits inside of this gray box. If I want to scale it down a little bit more, I'm dragging from the corner and I'm holding the Shift key like that. And I'm going to just make it a little bit smaller. I want to make sure I can see the whole thing. All right, so finally, to get it to be the same size as that box, what you need to do is right-click on the image with your mouse or control-click, and you get a range. You're going to send to back, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just click off anywhere, and then I'm going to click and drag to select the photo and the box, and I'm going to right-click. I'm going to make a clipping mask. The clipping mask clips that photo that we just brought in to the size of the box. So there's the handmade clay sculpture. It fits inside of the box now. I'm going to run through that one more time for you. So one of the things you need is your very first sculpture. So I'm going to go back up to File, click Place, and my very first sculpture was this one. So I'm going to click Place. Same rules apply. I'm going to scale this down by holding the Shift key and see if I can get this to fit inside the box. All I really want is for the creature to fit. I don't need to show all this black background. So I'm going to send this to the back by right-clicking. And it looks like the creature's actually fitting inside of that box. So I'm going to click off, drag to select both of them, right-click, and make a clipping mask. And there he's inside of that. So that's the methodology you're going to use to get all your images into Illustrator. You can just copy and paste text from your blog for your story of your creature. Remember that up on the Ning site, we have our blogs that we created that have our stories. So all I had to do for this was just copy and paste it literally. So I can just Command C and then go back to Illustrator. And I'm going to use my tool here to double click on this box. And I'm going to select all and then Command V to paste it. Now, you guys can start getting into some creative things if you want here. I know this is a little bit of a dry, boring template. Also I want to make sure I get my creature name in here. So, for instance, this one is called Robpool Puatul. Not sure how it's pronounced, but this is the creature's name. So I'm going to go up there, double click, select all, and then paste it. I can make it capitalized if I want to show a proper noun. That's up to you. And then finally, also make sure right here you've made your name, added your name. So this is actually Omri's work. So I'm going to put Omri Sabo as the name here. Now back to being creative here. First let me talk about one other thing. Notice that under each of the pictures there's text. Discuss the process of making your first handmade clay creation here. So this is actually text that you need to go in and type. You need to add your own thoughts on the process. Don't forget that in your your notebook, the paper notebook that we have in our class, that you actually wrote some of this down already. So it already might be partially done for you. So you can go find that text and look at it to help you remember what it was like to work with the clay. But I want you to write an answer for each of these questions or prompts. Discuss the process of making your first sculpture here. Compare working with real clay versus digital clay. Discuss the process of developing your imaginary creature design. Remember that we began with 5 references. This is the drawing of the creature. What were the 5 references that you used? And then the 3D model of creature. Discuss the process of transforming your imaginary creature into a digital sculpture. What changes did you make from your initial design? Why? What considerations did you bring to the design of your creature? And I want you to remember that the guest speaker we had, Mr. Ferguson, who talked about considering how to make your creature more believable. And I will upload a picture of what we brainstormed on the board too. Finally, over here you can just leave this empty, this 3D print of your creature, because we're going to just we're going to create like a little platform to attach it. So finally, if you want to get creative with this at all, I'm fine with that. I like to keep it in this basic format, but if you want to play around with the colors like of the text, you know, that's fine. You know, if you want to do that kind of thing, just to make it a little more interesting. Once you're done, once you've got this all laid out, this is not all laid out, but I'm going to pretend that it is for the time being. I want you to do an export. You would go up to File, Export, and then we need to save it as a JPEG. Use the artboards, and you don't want to leave it as creature template because I won't know whose it is. So make sure that you could say creature layout and then your name. And I'm going to hit export. And you guys know the story. We've done this before, but I just want to remind you of how to do it. So I'm just waiting. So I want to make sure it's RGB. I want to make sure it's a larger file and make sure it's 300 pixels per inch for the resolution, and then I'm going to hit OK. That'll make it the best quality that it can be. And so that can now be shared with me, or actually you can upload it to the Ning site. You can also, like if your story doesn't fit in this space, you can make the font bigger by going to the character up here, and I can click just to scale it up until it fits the space, that kind of thing. All right, that's all you need to know to go ahead and do this final document, and then we'll be done with the 3D sculpture project.